This whole project started because I was looking to do something that I had never done before. And this project has evolved into something a little more than that. Now we're building an entirely custom car body, and we're building a fiberglass mold on top of that. It's gonna end up kind of like a model car, except full size. It sounds simple, right? We got our work cut out for us. We made great progress on the rear end of this car. Pulling that Porsche bumper really streamlined the effort. Coming around to the front end of the car, there's absolutely nothing there. I've never built a car like this. We're doing it kind of piece by piece, but in the end, the car has to look like it was a solid design from the beginning. What really set the pace for the look in the back was just starting off with something, some shape to represent the flavor. I'm really hoping we can get some kind of shape that ties this front end to the back. Victor asked me to meet him in his yard. He said he's got some ideas set up.
Let's see what we could find. I had the guys just put all like the fenders and the bumper together.
Oh, I see.
Look around and pick what you think we could use, and let's start from there. I called Ian to come out to look at my scrap yard to see what we could use for the fenders. Before I go out buying something, I figured, hey, I know I got something laying around.
Walking around Victor's yard, I know what to expect. It's not exactly a scrapyard full of exotics.
Check it out, you recognize these?
So we're walking through, and the first thing he points to is instantly recognizable. It's a Volkswagen fender. The VW, I don't know. It's got a weird vibe on this project.
I don't know what this is, but we don't put it like this. You kick it up and bulge it upward. It looks kind of small.
Yeah, and all these freaking 40s fenders.
They're Zephyrs.
They got the shape, but they're just way too big. A modern thing like this would definitely work better. I told Victor we could use any body panels we want, but they actually have to be the right contour, the right panels, so we can achieve the design we're looking for.
I got some other stuff in the corner there. Let's see what we got there. I've acquired 25 years worth of stuff. My wife calls it junk. I call it treasures.
Oh yeah, I recognize the remnants of this car, but see, this is kind of the thing I was thinking. See, this is a way more modern looking fender lip opening.
But that's too square. I'm just looking for that round fender point. I just need the point. This could be closer to it, but even this doesn't have enough roundness to it. I know these parts are pretty rough. I mean, like really rough. But hey, with Ian, you never know what he comes up with. Yeah, check these ones out. This, I think, would be more like it. I don't know what this is from. It's probably a newer, I don't know what these are.
It looks like they got caught on fire.
Yeah.
What the heck, both of them?
Yeah, I got a little fried there.
It's got these two burned up fenders. Even though they're not really pretty, they do have a more modern look. The Zephyr and the VW are very exaggerated, and these are a little more streamlined.
It wouldn't sit like this. There again, we kick it up. You open this up so it goes around the tire, and we got this little arch here so we could go down with the hood. That may be something you could work with. What do you think?
Victor's got a lot of wild ideas. He's totally shucking and jiving. He's giving me the sales pitch of the century, saying we can pull this off with the parts that he's got. We just got to get them in the shop, see what happens.
Just like everybody says, hey, if you build it, I will come. If I give you the points, Ian will make it work.
Right.
That's my philosophy.
Here he goes. He's pulling me into another three-ring circus. Well, what's up with this bumper here? What the heck's this about? Building projects like this behind my back?
It's something I picked up at Pomona. I mean, the price was right, I didn't need it, and I bought it.
Looking at this bumper Victor has, it's definitely from a tuner car. It's not really the flavor we're going for, but it just might be a starting point. I don't know if this will just fit right on the car, but it's like the rear bumper. It's a perfect starting point. We'll change the styling somehow, but it's already a fiberglass bumper.
All right, let's try that out. I'll grab
you
the
got
two
two fenders in this. See what it does. Pretty loose looking pile of parts we got here. There is some potential. We just got to get it in the shop and see. We made our selections and brought all these parts back in the shop to see. We're working with nothing here, blank slate. First order business is to try to mock up some parts. The Sterling's square, and that's just not what we're going for.
You see, 'cause, I mean, everything's out of proportion, but the way I seen it was like this. I'm just looking at this point going down into the hood. All this will be discarded. This is all I'm looking for, and actually up higher.
The whole style of the front end we're trying to create here is sort of like raised fenders, super low hood height. Put these burned up fenders on the car, and it's sort of the direction we're looking to go. These are already way better than the Sterling because they're so much rounder. You know, we're getting away from this flat, faceted shape, and yeah, got an arch, man. It's working.
It kind of fits. This is how Henry Ford did it.
I'm sure. The only thing he didn't have was cordless tools, man. The concept we're creating here is nothing different than any customizer's ever done since all this started. You know, you have some handmade stuff, but you're using production pieces and you're warping them into your own new flavor. I mean, looking at the rear fender, you know, again, you're gonna enhance it a bit, but it's a way better starting point than that flat Sterling thing. And still, I know you're gonna want it way more up in the center, but see how we can just do the same thing as the rear, just pie cut it, segment it, pull it down, and we'll just have to add some kind of curvature to the top. I can see these fenders getting us to where we need to go, but I really want to put on the nose piece too. You know, it's all got to work together. It's pretty loose, man. It's the face only a mother could love.
Yeah, to be frank, it's terrible.
I think the clinical term would be butt ugly. This front bumper isn't really what we can use. I mean, in the end, it's kind of less than spectacular. It's, for now, I'm gonna call it a placeholder.
It's out of proportion. The fenders, something doesn't feel right.
They did look curved out in that lot, but once they're here on the car, they appear pretty flat. These burned up fenders kind of have the look, but they're not really offering us that arched fender that comes down into this valley area in the hood that we're looking for. I'm gonna lay a sheet of aluminum in there, just try to visualize what these contours can offer potentially, and just see if it's gonna work. I get what you want to modify here, but there's still something about this transition that's bugging me. Putting these parts together, you know, it's a base, it's a starting point. I'm just kind of not feeling it. I'm just wondering if there's other options. You know, all this is really good developmentally, but we're using kind of passenger car parts. You were looking for the exotic stuff, you know, maybe the Porsche thing isn't that bad of an option. It worked,
the original ones, right?
It worked great in the back. You know, it's just a way more bulgy shape. It, you know, might just add to this. The whole thing with a solid mock-up is the light bulb goes off, right? Ideas start flowing, and it's just not happening. What we need is something that gives us the green light. I mean, this is a way more sporty shape than the stuff we're working with. Look, the light almost wants to be there. I mean, we don't want to give a Porsche look away, but.
I like the position, the way you positioned it. It just, the lights are bothering me. It's not what I'm envisioning.
Yeah, I agree. They're a dead giveaway. You don't want it to look like a Porsche, so I'm trying to figure out how to cheat it a little, you know? Car's definitely wider than it was, so kind of change the angle a bit, you know, exaggerate the proportions, and it might work. This is way more representative of that transition to the valley you're talking about. I mean, maybe a Porsche fender is kind of the best option.
Yeah, and then once the light comes off and then all this metal comes all the way down and meets the bumper, then whatever light we decide to put in here, and there's my valley, right?
Sure.
There's my valley.
Yeah, maybe just tape over them, primer them like we did the back, just gray it out. These fenders seem like a good choice. I'm gonna mock them up, rough out some tape lines, just kind of see what it's gonna have to offer three-dimensionally. Victor's big concern is that he doesn't want this to look like a modified Porsche. You know, we're using these parts, but in the end, I'm sure it's gonna look like one of a kind. I could see that working, man.
It's nothing that I would take home to my wife at this point.
You know, one step at a time, man. Nobody said it was gonna be easy. I know Victor's pretty nervous about this mock-up. It's totally loose. I got a couple ideas. I think we could pull this off, I just gotta pull another rabbit out of the hat. You got a general idea of how this thing's gonna look. First thing I need to do is trim off a bunch of the material from the front of the roof. This is just like the trimming back of a freaking shrubbery. You get rid of the stuff you don't want. This whole roof shape is gonna change. But again, the parts that are critical that Victor wanted are still intact. Victor's always about the inspiration, so he's brought in a number of inspirational reference points. I got a couple of other ideas for him. Shop inspector's never seen anything like this. You know, we go for rides in cars all the time, and now he's like a giant monster looking at this vehicle. If there's one thing I know, this dog loves treats. Super cars. Super dog food delivery. Aside from all the busy work, you know, we got a car to build, on to the next. First thing I want to do is get rid of these headlights, cut them out. I definitely want to do something way different on the nose of this. This is way better than those other funky parts. These fenders are just perfect. Because of the rim and tire selection, you know, the fenders were not going back in their stock place. So what I did was I moved them out, changed the angle a little bit, raised them up. So, you know, even though they are Porsche fenders, they're nothing like it if you put it side by side. It's pretty impressive. But again, there's a giant hole in the car. I'm thinking about one thing that just might work. There's one thing about that Sterling is it does have the flavor of what we're looking for. Just like with everything else, I'm gonna use the portions of it I think will work and cut out the rest. Love this surface. You can see we're right on this area Victor said he was committing to. This height flows perfectly up into here. Right here it starts to rise up, and that's the area that is a foul. Like with all the other components on this car, you know, we're trying to make it our own. The Sterling hood's getting trimmed way back. I'm just using the portion of it that represents the profile I'm looking to achieve. Perfect. It's very curved, even though it made it look flat to the eye. And by screwing it down, it gives us a perfect transition to these fenders. Just by removing the scoops and kind of trimming it back a little, I think this hood's gonna work. I just need to make some simple structure to attach everything, and then it's on to finish work. Using these aluminum sheets, it's the same process as in the rear, just trying to create a contour, something to build off, and the look that I want. Being that this car is gonna have a mold on it, in the end, the construction here, anything goes. It's purely a mock-up. Now we're getting somewhere. This is all about the concept. I'm gonna tape some of it up, spray paint it, sit back, check it out. Getting these fenders mocked up, I really see the potential of this valley and hip fender aspect Victor was trying to get his point across about. I see a issue with that bumper. Maybe that one's not the right call for the car. We're gonna have to figure that part out. I'm positive this bumper is not the right look, but what it's offering is a structure to build off of. Welded in this mounting bar to support the bumper, but I definitely have to widen it. One thing I've learned from chopping up a lot of cars is to retain the look of the thing, you section it, it's gonna cut both ends off and widen them out independently. As crazy as this sounds, my whole idea here is to just sheet the thing with aluminum. You know, we'll have a blank slate and we can work forward from there. If you hold your hands just right and squint hard enough, it's really starting to look like something. And that looks pretty cool. I like the way this is shaping up. We're gonna match the other side and we're gonna get a lot closer. This car is definitely looking a lot different than the last time Victor saw it, and I am curious of what his thoughts are. Before Victor gets in, I really wanted to nail this concept, so I went ahead and did some finish work. I laminated the aluminum and the fenders with fiberglass and then went over that with body filler and, starting to present a finished surface. I took a bit of a leap of faith on all the work on the hood. I hope Victor likes it.
Ian, what's going on?
Hey man, just fleshing this thing out.
Wow, what a difference. Last time I seen the car, I was having nightmares because the car wasn't quite coming out the way I see it. I love the lines, and there we go again. We got the fenders going down, I got my valley, then it looks like it ties in with what's going on in the back.
Yeah, that skirt was just a generic layup for me to get some symmetry in the thing. That other tuner car bumper is a little strange, so whatever you want to do, man, it's ready. Victor loves the idea of the blank slate. Setting it up like this just gives you every opportunity to discuss more design.
I was so tripped out last night when I woke up, man. This morning I got out of bed and I've been shopping. I need to get a front end on this thing, and I looked at 20 different styles and I think I found the right one.
Victor says he's got something else to add to the car. I never know what to expect.
All right, I'm gonna go grab it out of my truck.
At this point, I'm thinking, hey, it could be anything. Hopefully it's not a new rear bumper.
Ian, check this out. You won't believe where I found this.
What the heck is that off of?
It's a Lamborghini front end.
Wow.
Found a Lamborghini junkyard.
A
Don't ask
Lamborghini
me
junkyard.
what year.
This is not what I was expecting at all. You see, I'm going about it with a bunch of aluminum foil and body filler, and he pulls out the Spercar card. That's good stuff. It's not what I was expecting. Expensive.
My back pocket's hurting. There's nothing here. Look.
Wow.
Does that look familiar?
Wow. You're going for
That's
it, man.
it.
That's the right call.
That's all I got left.
The other thing looked kind of like a Honda tuner car. This thing is nasty. I love the way that those two things come together. You don't get that when it's separate.
And there's your vents. That'll work for the two radiators on each side, right?
For sure. That thing's mean.
Hopefully it fits and we don't have to hack it up like the other one.
Just mocking up this Lamborghini nose, it's the look, It's night and day between what we're starting with, that tuner car bumper, and this. It's like a super aggressive, really low. It's just a whole higher level of design.
Sometimes I come in with something or use stuff I have laying around, and I gotta really pitch these to them. So I walk in with this Lamborghini front end. I knew I wasn't gonna have to pitch too hard.
On its own, it looks freaking awesome, but to get it to fit with the car, we're gonna kind of have to change everything. We're gonna have to blend out all those hard edges. We're gonna have to cut back 90% of the work I just did. I got a couple ideas, man. The thing is, just get out the tools and try to make it work.
But anything you cut off on this thing, could you save it so I could at least hang it on my garage wall?
Yeah. To get this Lamborghini nose on the car, I gotta undo a lot of the work I already accomplished, but hey, that's part of the mock-up. This design is really worth the extra effort. Victor's kind of sweating it, he doesn't want to risk these parts. He doesn't want to see me just chop them apart. I'm gonna send him packing, take a little of the pressure off, and get to work. I was having trouble conceptualizing what the nose of this car was gonna look like. Victor comes in with the heavy-hitting part. These pieces nail it. My idea is heavy surgery. I'm gonna cut back everything I just did, splice this piece in, remount it, blend it together. Fitting up this nose, just trying to make it look like one piece. Somebody's gonna not be able to realize that it's 5 different concepts all mashed together. Definitely cutting off this edge here. So I put 2 fasteners, one on each side of that. I'm gonna cut this right off. When I blend it together, all this hardware disappears. So pretty much the surface does this. I don't know if you can see it, but I can. The whole thing with this process is it's kind of so reaching in the dark, it's just looking for these little glimpses of hope to carry you through, because trust me, this isn't easy. This is like the challenge of a lifetime, and we're going about it pretty haphazardly. To fill in these gaps, the same process as with the fenders, just some aluminum sheeting, fiberglass, filler. One thing I've always wanted to do is, build complete car bodies in the style of Ed Roth, and this is very similar to that. Glomming a whole bunch of stuff together, no matter what it is, and then making a mold on it. The thing with the mock-up is it's about visualizing if you can move forward, So taping it up, spraying it gray, it gives you perfect representation of a yes or no to your question. This is why I'm doing this with the gray stuff. So you kind of sit back, look at it, it's gonna work. You got two drastically different styles in the bumper and the fender design, but we're gonna do a little deletion of both, defining ridges. We're kind of right in there. One thing about transplanting this nose piece on it is it doesn't really work with the ridges on top of the fender. The look of the other car was defined by these really sharp cuts in the body panels. This one doesn't have any of that. So I'm just gonna cut this off right here, and the filler's gonna delete this rise. The filler's gonna come right up and over, so you won't have this or this. That's the plan, and I'm sticking to it. Victor gives me all these exotic car parts, and I get to destroy them. It's the best job I ever had. In trying to make this thing look a little less identifiable, on the side vents, we softened the edges on that, trying to get away from that, round it off a little bit, and make it our own. I'm really happy with the progress we made on the front of the car. The nose looks awesome. It's really gonna define the styling for the rest of the car. The roof needs a ton of work, and there's no sides on the car. We got a huge challenge ahead.